This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to the program. Joining me now, John Brummett, columnist with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Good to see you at the beginning of the week, sir.
It's going to be a big week, I think. Big week for news. So, glad to visit with you.
It will be a big week for news. We are expecting this lectern audit on Governor Sarah Sanders' $19,000 purchase of not a podium, a lectern. You know the difference now, don't you? We don't know when it's coming out, but Representative Jimmy Gasway, co-chair of the Legislative Audit Committee, tells me there is this internal debate right now of whether or not to just pop it out, no questions asked, or to have a committee hearing. What would you prefer?
Which would I prefer? I believe I would always prefer a professional audit report standing on its own to a meeting of any committee of this General Assembly. I think the idea that they would release it in concert with a hearing on it would likely enhance the political spin about it. And the political spin would, of course, accrue by majority to a pro-Sarah view. And if it's a legitimate pro-Sarah view based on the words by the auditors and the reports, that's one thing. But I personally, to answer that specific question, drop it on us. Drop it on the media, drop it on the public. Let those who are willing to read it and consider it objectively, if there are many of us, do so. Can have a meeting after that, but the story is, what does the report say? And may I ask you a question? When you asked Representative Gasway, if this was good, if he who has read it, is it going to be controversial? And he just grinned. Yeah. What did that grin mean? I can't interpret that.
My interpretation of that grin is, hell yeah, it's going to be controversial. Look, okay. If it was a total vindication of the governor, it would have already been released. So you know there's going to be some black eyes or some negatives of some sort in there. Also, I think a clue for that is the fact that she has asked for that AG's opinion that really doesn't materially, I don't think, too much affect what the audit may tell us. But clearly there are some things being set up for spin control.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a preemptive defense to seek that AG's opinion. It was maybe kind of a clear, more than a telegraph, just a clear statement. This addresses something that the audit finds. What we know already, Roby, is embarrassing to her and highly curious. You know, the price of it, where is it, why buy it from that person, why buy it with state money and then write on the invoice to be reimbursed and have the Republican Party do it. I think we know that this has embarrassment effects on her. I think we know that it causes discerning beholders to think, this is something not right about this. The audit, these are professional, serious fact and numbers gatherers at the Division of Legislative Audit. And what they need to do is go further than the report so that we can have a greater understanding of the timeline, a clearer understanding, and of especially and particularly what happened. And all this speculation on the Twitter by smart, competent people, it's mostly what politics is anymore. It's hoping for a result, and it is enjoying, if you're a critic of the governor, the idea that some sort of criminality might be suggested in this report. And on the other hand, it's in her defense, it's the money got paid back. She's admitted it didn't go right, but this is much ado about $19,000. And I think the report is going to be somewhere between there, I think, meaning that this is going to end up like everything else, with the angry right thinking the whole thing is overblown and the angry left saying the audit didn't go far enough. I, that's my sense. But you know what? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows except for until we see the report. And I was curious about Representative Gazaway because he's seen it, he's read it, and he just grinned as to whether it's controversial. And I just thought, well, okay, it's not really.
He knows
it's not really funny, but I understand what you're saying. He's making an ironic expression that, of course, it's going to be. Yes. I guess. So I accept that.
He knows it's going to be a hot potato. To me, the one thing that I am particularly watching for, because I do think that enough of the facts have kind of spun out there that we've got a pretty vague idea. Well, we've got a more specific idea of kind of what happened, what transpired. We've seen documentation. There's been some things we've been able to say did not happen. There's been some things to say we know did happen. I just don't know enough about the law to know if any, as you said earlier, any criminality is going to be in this report. Did they break the law in some respect? And that's what I think, to me, is going to be a potential game changer with the audit report. If there's an allegation that a law has been broken, or more than one law has been broken, and how serious is that? That to me changes the dynamic of the report more than we made an expensive purchase of a lectern. You may not have liked that we've done it and how we did it, but we have the prerogative to do that.
I think if the report, which has been out there a while and read by several people, included a postscript, this is being referred to Washington, D.C., to the Federal Bureau of Investigation for wire fraud. I don't know how anybody would manage to keep that quiet. And I don't know how anybody would think they could get an advisory opinion by the Attorney General of Arkansas that it would affect that. So I don't expect what some are hoping for, which is, blow the lid off state government and do what we want to do anymore, which is sentence our political opponents to the penitentiary. But it could do less than that and illuminate this in a way that would help people make informed judgments about it and informed political conclusions about their governor. And they could go either way. So let's just get it, put it out there. And I would regret if they delayed it for a few days till everybody could come in for a Legislative Division of Joint Audit Committee meeting to play their spin games, to ask the questions the governor wants asked, to ask the questions the 4 or 5 Democrats want asked. Those things are largely worthless, in my view.
Well, they're already up there at the Capitol anyway, so I don't think it would take them too long to do something. But to your point, I hope there's a conclusion on this. Is where I am definitely hoping that we get some.
Understanding it will not be universally accepted, but for those of us willing to consider and reach it, I hope we have the thorough opportunity.
Yeah. All right, let's shift gears. And you had apparently a pretty lively class at your Life Quest time last Wednesday with former Governor Asa Hutchinson, who does not walk the same walk as New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your conversation with Asa Hutchinson?
I tell you, I'm going to try not to sound like what I may have become, which is the head of Asa Hutchinson's fan club. But I'm to the point where policy differences bore me. We've got to fix something more basic in this country, and that is to have trustworthy leadership that can work with people who disagree and do so in a civil, productive way. And he came to my class and he talked about the fact that he has said unequivocally he will not vote for Donald Trump, but he also said to a room full of mostly left of center people, Joe Biden, I'm not going to vote for him either. He's a failed president. He can't effectively lead. And none of the above is a meaningful statement to make right now, and it's the one I want to make. And we had a class of 275 people who didn't like that, but sort of respected him, which I thought was productive. So I said to him, you're a pragmatic guy. This is a binary choice. If not for Trump, if Trump is a threat to our democracy, you've got to vote for Joe Biden, don't you? And he said, no, I don't have to say that. The position I'm taking makes a statement enough. And then he said, there's plenty of time to go. And there may be a time when I'll want to say something. different. But right now, let's wait to see. His friend Sununu, who is a similar anti-Trump governor of New Hampshire, endorsed Nikki Haley. Now that Trump is the nominee, Chris Sununu is all in for Donald Trump. And George Stephanopoulos on This Week went after him hard. And Sununu's position was, yeah, I said that. Yeah, that was true. I endorsed somebody else, but he's our nominee now, and the polls show he's leading for president. Therefore, I'm for him. That's essentially what Sununu said. He had to do. Stephanopoulos is saying, what's your moral position? That's what I'm asking you. And he said, my moral position is that one poll has, essentially, to paraphrase, Donald Trump's got 51%. That's the moral position I need. And you people in New York with your media bubbles, you don't know what's going on out here. And the issue is the other side. Asa's position is fairer, more thoughtful, more honest, less hypocritical, not hypocritical. Sununu, with whom he was widely aligned as a governor, like-minded governor on these matters, looks like a guy who's just was made by the question and answer with Stephanopoulos to look like a guy who's just selling out to his party without regard for the principles he had so strongly espoused a few weeks, months ago. So advantage Asa Hutchinson. One of my class members said to Asa, you say neither of these candidates is credible to lead the country. Who do you have in mind for that? And Asa Hutchinson said, Asa Hutchinson. That's himself. But he admitted later he was just quipping, of course. And it was the most telling thing was that the audience laughed at that. So I think he understands his national political currency is of little value. But I get the idea that his politics and his politics that is clear to its conservative views, but can engage with others and earn the respect of others, is the single one very thing this country needs and is far from getting on a widespread basis. Sorry if that sounds too laudatory to Asa. He came to my class and I appreciated it, and I appreciated that whole discussion. I just sat there and thought, this is good. This is a good exercise for everybody. If we could do this more broadly, things might be better. And so that's what I got on that.
I am sorry I couldn't be there. I was out of town. I appreciate the invitation to have been there that day. So I'm glad you did get some coverage on that and that it was out there.
We did.
I tell everybody who is, disappointed in their two choices, this binary choice that you mentioned, that I know it's not going to be easy this election cycle, but in the next presidential election cycle, I do feel like Donald Trump and Joe Biden will both be off the stage, and we will have a new cast of characters for Republican and Democratic candidates, and that might be refreshing and rejuvenating for the country.
We're going to have to purge over the next 4 years. We just are. That's what we're going to go through, and because Republicans are going to find utterly distasteful the idea of Joe Biden, and Trump. Well, he's trouble. He's mercurial, and this is not a time for mercurial wild leadership. But the main thing is to survive it, and the main thing is to get back to some sort of semblance of politics as a matter of mutual regard. And every time I say that, I hear the people out there saying, "You're so naive." Well, maybe we need some seeming naivete. Maybe that's the underlying foundation of what we need.
All right. He's John Brummett. He's columnist with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I always appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us.
Appreciate you. Take care.